It's like we're here. Boom, we're here. Yeah.
Yep,
I
we're
love it.
here.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I had so much fun the last time we did this. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to today. Yeah.
I love how you have it like open office hours, right? So I think it's so
Yep.
important because before I left corporate, that was one thing that I always had my open office policy.
Yep.
You could say open door, but everybody's like, well, there's still a door and there's still that threshold they have to cross. It's this weird emotional psychological thing. But open office hours are great because you get to ask any question about whatever you want and you have that time dedicated for you. And
Yep.
I think, like we were talking about before we went live, I think it's really important, especially for people who are, you know, in our space. And our space is a couple of things, right? We're coaches. You're a business coach and leadership, right? I do more on the career side,
Yep.
leadership, but like personal. So there's that. Hi, Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Um,
Hi.
and so there's that, but we're also business people. Like we have
Right.
our own businesses. And so
Yes.
there's a lot that we have to consider in terms of how both of those impact the other one. And I
Yep.
love being able to get together with other coaches and business owners and service providers in general, like Paul, who's a financial coach, right? And talk about those things. What's working for you? What's not? I mean, we were just talking, and and everybody who's watching this now or on the replay, I can't, Facebook, doesn't love me. And maybe it's because I wasn't on Facebook for a lot of years. When my mom
Yep.
passed away in 2016, I left all social media actually, except
Yep.
for LinkedIn. And when I opened the business last year, and I want to let everybody know, Tanya just had her year anniversary of being in business.
Yes,
Amazing.
March 1st was my 1-year anniversary, and I
Congratulations.
celebrated.
Yes, and you should. That's a huge, huge milestone. I think that's wonderful. And when I opened mine, Career Insights, my little sister was like, you got to get a Facebook page. Got to have a Facebook page. And I'm like, oh, I'm not on Facebook. I don't really know. I'm not really a Facebook person, but okay. So I opened, but you have to have a personal profile to do the Facebook business page. Okay. So I did that. And I've, tried to be consistent and all that. And I have no traction on Facebook. And so the good part about that is getting over my sort of block on video. I'm not going to, for 13 years, it was like none of that.
Yep.
Because I have no audience on Facebook. Nobody's looking at what I do. I went live every day for a long while until I could get over that and do. So it's kind of like,
I remember your first live.
It was pretty bad.
It was cute.
But it's like my proving ground because nobody's there. So it's kind of like my little lab beaker, whatever you want to call it, where I can test things out and fall flat on my face and be like, nobody saw it. Pretty cool. Well, yeah, but you know what I mean?
You didn't fall on your face. That's the thing. We're always harder on ourselves than other people are.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're a business owner. I'm a business owner. I'm looking at our guests on so far. We got Paul and Chris, all business owners.
Yeah.
So, we coach people on how to grow their businesses and how to effectively grow their businesses. And you and I and everybody here, it's what we do.
Yeah.
And what you said prior to us getting on, it's not a one size fits all. You're not friendly with Facebook yet. And boy, I have a love-hate relationship with LinkedIn. I have met you and Paul and Chris and so many amazing people on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And authentically, I have not, gotten clients from LinkedIn, and I have from Facebook. So again, it just proof that it's not a one size fits all. In coaching, as being business owners, we have to be flexible. So that is one of the biggest things I've learned in coaching is I can't, and I know you and I talk about this a lot. We don't coach people the same way. I have a single guy who's a real estate agent, and I have a mom who just had a baby who's a preemie, right? And still working. Obviously, the tactics and her roadmap look different than the gentleman that I coach that's single.
Absolutely. I have people who are mature in their careers. I have people who are at the genesis of their careers, like literally just starting out, first job ever. I have people who are looking to pivot. I have worked with clients who intended no career change, but career change found them, came upon them, and had to figure that out. And I have, one client who, when her kids were younger, she took a step away. And so she raised, 3 kids. And when she was ready to go back, very different world, a lot of mindset, a lot of confidence building there, a lot of, where are our skills and how do we identify those?
Yep.
And then how do we find, where they're applicable? So yeah, no two clients are going to be the same. And that's a good thing, because that one size fits all strategy, like we were talking about, like from a business standpoint, the people who say, this is what you have to do. You have to do X, Y, and Z to get traction on LinkedIn. And it's like, no.
That's a good way to set you up for feeling like a failure. I feel the same way about books, right? So I recommend a lot of books, and somebody will read it, or even if it's a diet book, like you're supposed to eat grapefruit or whatever that is, right? And then a client or a person will say, okay, well, it didn't work for me, so I'm a failure. I can't lose weight, or I can't grow my business because this one book said do X, Y, Z. Well, no, we got to do L, M, and N.
Well, and it's like I've said, and I see Melissa there too. Hey, Melissa. So, one of the things.
Hold on just a second. I want to say what Paul said. People are always watching, Gretchen.
Yeah. Scary.
I know.
But I get it, I know. And some people love, like, well, she was saying she has a love-hate relationship, so she loves it sometimes too.
Right.
But it's like, somebody made the comment earlier that, their reach, their engagement is way down. So is mine. It's way, way down. It may be the algorithm, it may not.
Yeah.
But like I was telling you before we came on live, as long as my funnel is working, right, I know I'm okay, because I still know who I'm talking to, and I understand the person that I can support, just as you do as a business coach.
Yeah.
Right. So we know those things. But like, going back to the weight loss analogy, the information is out there, right? So if I wanted to Google the combination of foods, or how much I need to exercise every day, or which muscles to target, or in that kind of thing, and in what sequence, and blah, 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 and for how long, I could do all of that. I could create the most detailed spreadsheet with macros that are going to ding, ding, ding all over the place. I can get all of that down. Cool. The information is there, but it's the implementation that I need help with. And it's the implementation that I think most people need help with. And so that looks different for everybody.
Absolutely.
That's why in coaching, I like to use the sort of, mind picture of, we lock arms and we walk the walk together. We do this together. I can't do anything for my clients. They have to do the work. They have to be all in, be ready to take that massive action to get it done. But we walk that walk together. We're there every step of the way with them, making sure that those things get done. Just like if I hired a health and fitness coach, they'd be working for their money. Let me just tell you right now.
So I'm gonna tell you a funny story. And Chris says his sucks right now, so I'm assuming that's his
reach. Yeah.
So I'm on a coach call this morning, right? And my client didn't do any of her action steps. And so I'm sitting there, and she's laughing, and so I'm thinking, okay, well then, do we need a different set of action steps? Do we need to go down a different road? And I use the same analogy. I actually have a picture in my home office. I'm here at my daughter's house right now, in my home office, of Dorothy, the Tin Man, the lion, Toto, all locked arms walking down the yellow brick road. I'm like, okay, do we need a red road? Do we need a blue road? Do we need to get off the highway? What do we need to do? And then I said, you know what? I'm going to start a new business where I'm going to travel to your home, do your action steps for you. You're going to put me up in your home, because I know she has a beautiful home in Houston, right? I'm like, okay, I'll do your calls. I'll pop by your clients, right? And you're going to pay me, right? She's like, oh, I'd pay you in a heartbeat to do my action steps. So there you go, Gretchen. We have a whole new business we can start.
Yeah.
But we can't do them, right? We can't do them. They have to do them.
You have to do the work yourself. It's just like, I was talking with somebody else this morning, you can do and say and all kinds of things, or you can say it, but you have to do the steps. And yes, Paul, that's very true. A lot of the information out there is trash. So you have to know and know who you're talking to and what they know. That's why, and Melissa made the comment, I think on her coffee chat on Saturday, and she said it, I've heard her say it before, that you wouldn't want to hire a boxing coach who's never taken a punch. I think Melissa said that. Melissa Houston. It's not original to me. She said it, but it's true. You are a business person. You've been in business, and your market understands that. Like, you're somebody who has walked that walk, and you can walk that with your clients. 27 years in corporate, I've hired more than 50 people. I've built, a huge team at one of the largest corporations. It's multinational, but here in South Florida, it's big. And
Yes.
so I've walked that walk. And so we sort of, we understand the challenges that our clients go through because we've been through them, and we've developed the strategies and the techniques to know how to
Yes.
get through those. If I hire a fitness coach and a weight loss coach, I need somebody who's been through that,
Yes.
who understands the struggles, the reasons that I may not be successful with mine,
Yeah.
and so that's really important from that standpoint
It
when you're,
is.
yeah, when you're
Yeah.
knowing who to talk to. That's why, a lot of the one size fits all influencer, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. And it's like, well, I'm doing what's right for
What's
me.
right for me. Yes. So yesterday I was on one of my clients is in a networking group and asked me to speak to, there's 20 business owners. So that was
Yeah.
awesome opportunity and it was fun. And at the end I said, does anybody have any questions? And I get this question a lot, and I'm sure you do too. Melissa too, being a coach, she said, well, how do you coach? She was an attorney, and I actually have an attorney client. She's like, how do you coach me when you've never done law? Or how do you coach a roofer when you've never built a roof? I'm like, well, that's the difference between mentoring and coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I do coach a lot of real estate agents, and that's probably because I was in real estate for so long and had a very successful real estate business. However, as you know, and all coaches know, we're not teaching you how to build a roof. And I really don't want to teach a realtor how to do a listing presentation, right? What I want to teach them to do is, have a strong pipeline, have, referral business, know how to spend their money and tell their money where to go. And at the end of the year, say, wow, I actually saved money this year, right?
Yeah.
So many things. And then imposter syndrome and all the other things that go along with coaching. Doesn't matter what they do. So do you get that question a lot? What's the difference between coaching and mentoring? Or how do you coach someone if you've never been a VP or whatever? Do you get that?
Yeah, I do. And one of the things that I like to talk about with that is, okay, are you having trouble doing law? Are you having trouble using LexisNexis? Because if that's your issue, I'm not your coach.
Yeah.
But if you're having trouble with, your mind telling you you can't do something,
right,
or you're nervous to get up in court and advocate for your client, or, we have a challenge in terms of making the time to get to what we need to get done, or we have a time suck that we can't identify, or we have something else going on there. Yeah, I'm your girl. I can help you with that.
Absolutely. Like, I haven't seen my kid's baseball game in 3 weeks, right? There we go. That's like my wheelhouse, right? Because
absolutely.
I was a single mom with 2 teenagers. I'm like, I don't want to miss their swim meet or their ballet performance, things like that.
I think that's a key thing, because, and this goes, I remember when I was a reporter, and that was a huge discussion between reporters and editors. Reporters like, oh, you can't edit me, you don't know anything because you never did the police beat, or you never did higher education, so you don't know how to edit my copy. Nope. And it's a big thing. There are a lot of editors who are like, unless you're a reporter, you can't be a good editor. No. And it also goes to, I'll take it a step further. In the world of journalism, the degree thing, the best copy editor I ever worked with had to leave. Well, he didn't have to, but he decided to leave college when his daughter was born because money, right? So he and his wife were in college, and he left to take a job at a newspaper, and he worked newspapers all the way through. And it wasn't until his daughter graduated high school and they were like, yay, college. And she goes, oh, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And they were like, what? And she goes, well, I'll go if you do. I'll go if you finish. And so they finished together, which I thought was beautiful. But, it goes to that, like, you have insight and expertise into certain things. I've said it before. Most people seek me out because they're having a challenge in their career. But more often than not, the challenge does not start with their career. It started somewhere in life, and it bled its way into their career. And that's where we're having the challenges. And so when we get into those things, we find those things out. So yeah, I think a lot of people do have some confusion in terms of what is mentoring and what is coaching, and
therapy too, right?
Right.
Right. I have some clients where I'm like, you know what? I think, a therapist would be really great. And I have some clients that are in therapy and coaching at the same time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm not a therapist, and I won't go there.
No, and I think, I'm loosely affiliated with a local therapy practice, Therapy Now, and they're in Palm Beach Gardens. And, I liken therapy and coaching to like the perfect handshake. I can't do it on camera, but it's like perfect handshake, right? Because one is going to be, let's talk about all the things that have gone on that have produced what we're experiencing. And then the other is, let's talk about what we're experiencing and tactics and strategies to
To
identify
move you forward.
what's happening,
Yep.
when it's happening, and how to move forward in
Yep.
spite of it. I can still move forward in spite of it while I work on it.
Yep.
Or I might never work on it, but I can still move forward in spite
In
of it. So
spite
if
of it.
I know, if I know that certain things are going to set me off, then I know those behaviors. And if I know how I'm likely to respond to it, history is any guide, then I know that I need certain strategies, mitigation tactics
Yep.
when those things happen. And
Yep.
we can work on that. But I always think of them as sort of that looking back that got me here, looking forward that's going to get me where I want to go. And that's how I think of therapy and coaching. And they're both incredibly important.
They're both important. I coached somebody a while back who, same thing as you said, her father always told her she'd never amount to anything. Yeah. Right. So that's where, if we need to resolve that, we need to work on that. That's therapy. Right. And like you said, in spite of that, I'm going to teach you how to change that radio station in your head, that you are worthy, you are capable, you are beautiful. He told her she was ugly. It was just awful. So so I'm going to meet you where you're at today. We're going to talk about switching that radio station. Not easy. Not after 40 years of being told that you're not worthy. However, well worth the work.
Oh yeah, and especially if it's by somebody who holds great influence or sway in your, over the psychology that you have for yourself. That's certainly something that you definitely want to work with. But you can also, very powerful exercise, let's plot it out. What have we done? Let's do the work part. What jobs have you had? What roles have you had? What responsibilities were you given? Right? Boom, that's one area. Now let's go to life. Did you ever buy your own car? Have you bought your own house yet? Have you ever been late on a rent payment? Those kind of things. Have you ever had something go to collection? If you've answered no on any of or no on the lateness or the collection, those are achievements. If you own your own house, achievement, car, achievement. Like we can mount up the list of achievements so that you can see on paper, you have achieved things. You've had jobs that have given you increasing responsibility. If you ran that office or you ran that team or whatever it was, or you got that big project that you were nervous about and everybody loved what you did with it. Those are achievements that a lot of people don't. That doesn't matter.
I know.
It doesn't matter to who. It doesn't matter to somebody who said something to you who's influential in your life, whether they're still with you or not. It doesn't matter to them or it doesn't matter to you, because that's an important distinction. And we can't, when we lose ourselves in that, we can work with that as, from a coaching perspective, we can absolutely work with that.
Absolutely. And people, humans don't pat themselves on the back with their achievements, right? We pat other people on the back and high five and yay, Tanya, you're celebrating your 1-year anniversary. Or yay, Joe, you just closed your 70th home this year. And it's amazing when, I'll stop a client to recognize an achievement and, they're like, wow, I didn't realize that. Or, okay. And I'm like, your action step, your homework is to go celebrate. Oh, I don't need to celebrate. Yeah. We need to celebrate our wins.
Yeah. And even just being able to recognize when they're happening, because people lose motivation when they don't recognize those. They don't see the change. It's like when you're like, I have to go back to weight loss because it's the easiest one.
Yep.
But when you're having success with a diet and you live with somebody and they see you every day, right? They're not going to notice it right away because they see you every day.
Yep.
Somebody who hasn't seen you in a while, it's going to be like, whoa, you look great. You lost a bunch of weight. They're going to notice it because they haven't seen you in a while. So you may not, and that person may not, but it's still happening. And so because it's happening, when you notice a little more, leeway in your blouse, celebrate. When you notice that you don't have to lay down to zip up those pants. Celebrate, or you don't have to.
We've been there before, Gretchen.
Absolutely, I've done the shimmy on the bed to try and get those suckers on, so I know what that's like. You celebrate those things because it meant that you did something, you took action, and it got you there. No, little incremental steps are how you take the journey, and you learn things along the way. So I think that's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to stop for just a second and recognize, Paul says there's an exercise I do every day from Candy Valentino for 5 minutes, write down everything you've achieved in life. And I love that. That's a great thing to do.
Yeah.
I love journaling. I don't journal every day. However, that does get me centered, is journaling. What do you do? How do you stop, drop, and celebrate?
So a couple of things that I do, like every morning I try to write one or two, like I just do brainstorming on things in general. And somewhere in there, I actually find things that I'm like, oh, I wrote something about that recently, or, I want to do more on that. Or like, today whenever I see something that makes me have a response, if it's like, immediate, that visceral response, like I got to comment or I got to say something, that's usually tied to a win somewhere. So I'll give you an example this morning. So Yulia Bogdanova made a post this morning about, a lot of different ways that you can de-stress.
I saw it. She's sitting in a cold bath.
She's amazing. She's amazing. Woman. Ever since I met her, I'm just like blown away by her.
Yeah.
But she's a mind body coach. And she's talking about that. And I was like, no, I really want to learn about so much, but I was like, but don't poo-poo meditation. I didn't say that, but meditation is very important for me.
It is.
And I'm writing about it. And I was like, I've been doing it for a while, but I started complete accident. I just was, and I tell a little story about, it was 2014. My niece had committed suicide, and I had been up and back, Florida, Alabama, for the initial thing when it happened, and then the service and everything else. And I forgot that Christmas was literally right on us. And when I remembered it, I remember telling my husband, crap, I got to be there. It's our first one without Sydney. So he's like, yep, go. So I threw some stuff in the car and off I went. I was so tired and I couldn't make it. So I stopped in Georgia, in Valdosta, and I just got a hotel room for the night. And I'm sitting there at that little, little desk chair area in the room. And I didn't realize it, but a lot of time had gone by. Yeah. And I was real clear on what I needed to do when I got there and how I needed to be for Jennifer, my sister. And I didn't realize I had been meditating, but that feeling was incredible. Yep. And I tried every day. I tried to get it back. I tried to sit and do, and I couldn't do it. I could not do it. So I started practicing and training. I actually did training on meditation because I wanted to get that back. That was something that I had never experienced before, but it was a shift. And I was like, I want it back so bad. I want it back. And let me just tell you, some of the things, for anybody listening, I tried everything. I had somebody who was like, look at a candle, the flame. It's the most relaxing thing. You know what I saw after a while?
Special music in the background.
You know what I saw?
Yeah.
But what I saw when I looked at that candle after a while, when you go to a car dealership and there's that big like balloon thing with the arms, after a while, that's what I saw, was that big balloon thing. So then I was like, okay. And I read this thing and it was like, picture a night sky, just the vastness of it with the stars and all the infinite possibility. Fantastic. And I'm visualizing. You know what I saw? The Star Wars wording coming up in my mind's eye. I could not do it. But I kept at it and I kept at it and kept at it until I finally figured out what worked for me. And the way I could get myself into that present state was I had to lay in what they call savasana. It's like the yoga corpse pose, but I had to lay down to do it, and I could do it. And then I figured out, okay, little by little, I could do it sitting up. And I couldn't do it long, a minute here, 2 minutes there. Yep. I got to 5 minutes and I was like, 5 minutes. And there were people
that I've ever gotten to 5 minutes, Gretchen.
People were like, 5.
Yeah.
People were like 5 minutes. Ew. And I was like, my goal, and I actually wrote it down. My goal is to be able to do it for like, an hour. And so, but that was very important to me. I didn't realize that, it's a matter of course, every day I do that. It's one of the things that when I open my eyes before Newman is like, we're up, I do that. But when she wrote that post and I was responding to it and I was like, I have been doing it more than 8 years. Like I just literally hit my 8-year mark.
You have been doing it a long time. Yeah. And so I have a similar story. So about a year and a half ago, I went to the Optimal Health Institute in San Diego for 2 weeks. So you eat raw and juice. That's it for 2 weeks. Okay. And I loved it. And we did meditation and visualization. So when we meditated at night, did visualizations in the morning, I connected with the visualizations. I mean, I'd visualize because I knew I was going to be giving notice to my corporate job at that point. I hadn't yet, but I knew it was coming. Yeah. And so I was doing visualizations, and I'd go back to my room, and all of a sudden I'd get an email from somebody, hey, I'm interested in your coaching. And I hadn't even put out a website yet. Now I'm not saying it was just visualization, but it was me getting into the space,
Yeah.
feeling, we talk about imposter syndrome and how much we coach on imposter syndrome. It was me feeling and visualizing me being the CEO. It's huge for me. Meditation, I'm good. Not like you. I'm good. Visualization. In fact, I met somebody on LinkedIn who does visualizations and mindfulness. So he is gifting my clients a visualization. In a few weeks, I'm getting all my clients together on Zoom, and he's going to do a visualization for them. Can't wait.
I love it.
So
Yeah.
yay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And I think, Paul is echoing, I think, what you were saying, that there's no one size fits
No,
all.
there's
That's
not.
no, there's not. And that's why, I love being shoulder to shoulder with other career focused coaches, because they're not doing what I do. And if we're doing the same things, we're not doing it in the same way, because one size does not fit all,
No.
and their approach, there may be stuff I can learn from their approach. And I love
Right.
that. And I
Yes.
hope that they feel the same way. But I think that makes it really, really, like, super relevant when we understand, like, everybody's different. And so the approach can be just as different as the person.
Right. It is. And we can get two different people to their finish line, even if it's the same profession, in two different ways. And I like what Paul said. It isn't a one size fits all approach. Let me just pop it up. I'm always intrigued when I hear people give financial advice with no context. Yes. I mean, Paul, you can kick me in the shin if you want to, but I'm sure you give different advice to someone who's 60 versus someone who's 30 and and has two kids. Right. So it isn't a one size fits all. And I think in almost any profession, especially when we're talking about, coaching, finances, things like that. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, if you think about it, and you think about, just to your example, and sorry, I have terrible allergies, so yay.
It's okay.
But here in life in general, we have different things. We have different stages. So wherever we are here in this moment, we're in different stages. I'm 53 years old. That's the stage I'm at in my life. My husband is retired. I started a business last year. So I have things that are very important to me. Now, take me back 10 years or 20 years, right?
Sure.
When I was in my 40s and 30s, what I valued and what was important to me was different then. So that's another reason why it's very important to understand. And you said this before, where are people right now? Meet them where they are and figure out what we can do to help get them and move them in the direction of the goal that they want right now. Understanding 5-10 years from now, 1 year from now, 1 month from now, that goal could be different. And that's okay. That's called being human. Those things happen. Yeah. So how do we do that? And I think that's what Paul's talking about. And I think that goes to what you were saying, is the financial needs of somebody in their 20s and 30s are going to be fantastically and fundamentally different from what they are in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, and I think that I'm sorry, I know he just made a comment, but I think that bears repeating, because that goes with everything. If you have a new business owner for your coaching, you're going to focus on different things with me as a new business owner than as a mature business owner when I'm 5 years down the road. Sure. And I'm a little more set in. I might have staff or some other things going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you have to take each client with who they are and what they need, yes, not what you want to give them, because they don't maybe need all that. Yep. I was telling somebody the other day, not everybody needs a program. Not everybody needs, session by session. Some people do better in a group setting than they do on a one-on-one. So you really have to know how you can best support that client, and then be sure that you can provide the content that can do that.
Yeah, and I love that you said that some people do better in a group program than one-to-one, right? So I have both one-to-one and group coaching, and I'm not going to call anybody out, but I see somebody here that's in my group coaching program, but that's up to her to decide. And actually, I want to interrupt myself too. I'm wondering if we're only streaming to LinkedIn, which is awesome, but that's the only comments we're getting from LinkedIn. And that's why, I don't know if it's either social media or Restream. It doesn't always seem to be connecting to all my sites when I get on.
I'm not sure, because
anyway.
I couldn't connect to any of mine today. So
yeah. Anyway, what I want to build on what you said, I've said, and Paul obviously is definitely on the same page as we are, that coaching isn't a one size fits all, right? We have to meet our client where we're at, and we get super creative with designing a program. And sometimes we don't hit it spot on the first time. Nobody's fault. There's no fault or blame, because I had a client this morning say, I don't like doing this. Right. I'm like, great. Well, here's like, let's come up with all the different options we can. So we came up with like 10 options. Right. I'm like, okay, great. Pick 2. Right. We obviously know one's crossed off the list. It didn't resonate. You don't like it. You're not going to do it. And no, you're not going to pay me to come to your house to do it. Although I'm thinking I'm starting a new business. Right. So she picked 2 more things, and it may not be something that resonates. Maybe the third time it's going to resonate. We don't have a crystal ball, right, to know. However, that doesn't mean she's a failure. And that's what she's like, I coaching doesn't work. I don't work. I'm like, no, let's take a deep breath. Let's breathe through this. And you're not a failure. This particular action step may not be the best. The yellow brick road isn't going to work. Let's go on the green road and see how that's going to work. And I bet you next time I talk to her, it's going to be better. And I say, please don't wait 2 weeks to tell me it's not going to work. If after 3 or 4 days it's really not resonating, then let's fix it sooner than later.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm also kind of that. Yeah. No, and I'm kind of that, maybe I'm a little naggy coach, but I also like to, like, if I know somebody has a challenging situation coming up and we've worked through some of those things in session, I'll send a WhatsApp or a little text or something, just letting them know, it's going to be okay. Remember, your breathing, remember whatever it is that we talked about to get through and be successful in that situation. And then, let me know how it goes, so that they're aware that, it's very much an interactive situation.
Yes.
With coaching, that support, it's so personal. It's another thing that, I was mentioning, and to me, I'm always blown away by some of the interactions that people have. Coaching is a very personal decision for people to make.
It is.
It is an investment in their own growth, whether it's their personal growth, their business growth, both. So yeah, you do keep them accountable, Paul. Exactly. But it's also, so it's a very personal decision. It's an investment in themselves, but it's also a huge sign of trust when they say, yes, I want you to work with me.
Yes.
And that is huge. And that, that's like, great. And we're going to go and we're going to lock arms and we're going to do this together. I'm going to show you how powerful you are.
Right. And it's such a huge responsibility, I've learned over the years of coaching. I get teary-eyed thinking about it. Getting clients across the finish line is amazing. But like you just said, you go to the very beginning, they're trusting us, they're paying us. Some of my clients will start coaching and like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this, but I know I need you. And then, a year later, 6 months later, we cross the finish line and they're like, wow. Or my client that, was over $100,000 in debt called me, and together on the phone, we made his last payment.
I love that. I
just love that story. Or I closed my 20th home, or whatever that is. I love celebrating that with them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Better. Yeah.
One of the things too that I find really helpful for mine is I record when I'm doing a distance coaching session. So if it's in person, it's different. I can't do it. But if it's distance coaching, I record it. I record all those calls. And I've actually done this with people where we'll go through a scenario where we're going to see if you're going to get triggered with this and what's the response going to be. And I'll let people know that was good. But if you go back and you watch last week's session or the week before, you can see the difference in your confidence level. You can see. And again, that I can see it. Tell me what happened this week. Why are we, what went on there? What clicked in your mind that took you back to that spot? Because we want to be able to do those things. That again goes back to seeing those wins, because they know they had a win that they may not have acknowledged. And it's there for them to review and say, you know what? I look good saying that. I know how to respond to that situation,
Well, think about it with you and with me. I've been coaching now almost 10 years. So I think my first year of coaching, I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I have clients that first year?
Right.
I mean, I am such a better coach today than, but obviously you have to start, right? And any business owner, again, part of that's, maybe the imposter syndrome I had that first year too. I am a better coach. I guarantee, you can disagree with me if you want to, Gretchen, right? You're a better coach today than the first 2 months of coaching, right?
Yeah.
It's, we keep learning, we better our craft.
Yeah.
We figure out that it's not one size fits all, right?
I mean, I've modified mine throughout. When I first started years ago, I did traditional career coaching. I did documentation support and all those kind of things, job search strategy. I don't do those anymore. I'm happy to lend an ear or give some advice, but that's not part of my core coaching. What I do now is more, very, very personal strategy as it relates to your career, but also an immediate challenge, because that immediate challenge that you first sought me out, that pain point, is like, I think of it like a spider web. It goes everywhere. You take that everywhere with you, even if you don't think you do. It's in the conversations you're having at home. Your friends know all about it. Your family knows about it. You saw something. There's somebody at the grocery store who was 2 people behind you who heard you talking about, like, on your phone. People know about it.
Yep.
It's in your life, which means the challenge is in your life. So
yes, it is.
We no longer need to separate those two things, that work-life balance, your career, whatever you do for your compensation or whatever you spend the bulk of your time doing for the enterprise of work is part of your life, fundamentally in every other way. So now we understand that and we can work with that. But I mean, I think that those things are really important for people to sort of, get comfortable with. For lack of a better word. But no, I don't do my practice is very different from what it was before.
Yes.
And that's because I've continued, like you, continue to learn and grow and evolve and be able to offer new things to clients.
So I got a question, because I know I authentically, I have a hard stop at 9:45 today. So we only have a few minutes. So I do have a question, and I'll answer it too, but you first. Where do you get most of your coaching business?
Most of mine right now is going to be LinkedIn and still some referrals. So most of my business for a long time was referral only while I was in corporate. And then when I opened the business last year, I still obviously get referrals, but LinkedIn, like I was telling you, I don't get Facebook. So, but LinkedIn. Yeah.
So again, like when we talk again, you and I are on the kick today for one size fits all doesn't work, right? So I've got no business on LinkedIn. I would say 90% of my business is from referrals. And I am so grateful for the referrals I receive from past clients, current clients. I can't say not 100% with referrals, but 90% easily referrals. And then 10% will be probably Facebook. Facebook or I actually do a newsletter once a month. Mm-hmm. And I have received 2 clients from the newsletter that I send out once a month. So probably 10% marketing and 90% referral for me.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, it's most of the marketing that I do is on LinkedIn, but I do, I have, again, just like with my practice and I plan to evolve what I'm doing as a business. And so where people are and where clients can be, my clients in particular, but also remembering that, how I'm showing up is also, I need to be more intentional than I sometimes am. I mean, I'm human and I'll see something. I'm like, ooh, I want to respond to that. Understanding that I'm on business hours are open. I'm still on the clock. If I was, working for somebody else, I'd be like, should I be doing that right now? But I'll jump down that rabbit hole and be like, oh, this is good. Oh, that's good. And I have to get out of that because again, I can't serve my clients if I'm doing that. I can do that on my own time, which is not during business hours. So I have to be better about that. But it's hard, so.
Well, yes. And we're just like, I coach my business owners. We have to work in our business. We serve our clients. We take care of our clients. We need to add value to our clients. And as business owners, we do need to market. We do need to, use social media or email marketing or whatever we're going to do, right, to market ourselves until we're at a place where I can hire that out. So that would be, I would love to be at a place in my business where I can say, okay, I'm going to hire a marketing firm now to handle my marketing. If I only work in my business, I'm not growing it. Right?
Well, and that's the thing too, is I have to remember that, posting is great, but if it's just a post, it's not marketing. And so I need to be sure that I'm giving people that way to get something more than just whatever I'm posting out of it. And I started a newsletter in January, so I'm very new to newsletters, but I love that because most of the content that I create, and I remember saying this to IA Bujo, is like, I would say 60 to 70% of my content is private. It is client only. And
Yeah.
so if you go to my website, most of that content is behind a firewall. If you're working with me, you have access to that. If you don't, you don't. And so, that's very important to me because I spend a lot of time I do a lot of research on a lot of things like most coaches do for their clients. And so a lot of the content that I create is for them. So other things, I have a content calendar that I go through, and I try to be very intentional about that. You and I talked about signatures. I wasn't sure. I didn't know if it was right. I actually, and a couple of months ago, actually last year, I shied away from it because people were roasting people for, how do you, oh, you shouldn't do that. You should, give that away and support people. And it's like, I can support, I have a dedicated number of hours that I give away every week, no matter what. But the rest has to be business. Otherwise, I can't stay in business, which means I can't continue to do that. So,
exactly.
And I thought, and like I told you, and I'll say it, I think it's very interesting that some of the people who were like, that's terrible, you shouldn't do that, don't pump your services, are now in business for themselves and doing the same thing. And it's like, the world of work is very small, no matter what you do. So I've said this before when I was running my team in corporate, and now I'll say it to everybody else, especially my clients. The world of work is very small. Show up with the intention of doing as much as you can for other people. Just be a good person, do the right thing. You don't have to worry about the rest of it, and that's very important. So, referrals, again, going back to that, I love that. I will always do the right thing by even if I haven't worked with them for a year or more. I love to reach out. They're going to get a little card for me. I'm going to, if I know, certain things, like if I know if they just moved, I'm going to send a little something for the housewarming or whatever, because they're with me now. I'm invested in their success, their long-term success, just like you.
Absolutely.
Every client, we are invested in their long-term success, whether that's now or 10 years from now. That you chose me to work with you and help you through a challenge that you weren't able to have success with on your own is an incredible thing. That is monumental. That's everything.
And yes. And we wouldn't be here if we weren't absolutely thrilled, upside down, happy when a client hits a milestone, whatever that milestone looks like, right?
Yeah.
That's my why. And yes, I love what I do. I'm passionate what I do. And I know I'm bringing up a heated topic with 1 minute left to go. However, this is a heated topic. It's all over LinkedIn. When I hear someone says, do your passion, do what you love, you never have to work another day in your life when you do what you do, and the money will come. I'm like, I was on somebody's live a week ago, and I actually respectfully disagreed. Like, I respectfully disagree. I love what I do. I'm passionate about it. There's nothing better than getting my client over a finish line, and I have to pay my mortgage.
It's what I said yesterday. I wrote a post about purpose versus passion. Passion is momentary, and it's internal focus. It's emotion based, and that's great. But your purpose is what's going to keep that motivation going outward to keep you doing it. That purpose is everything. That why, that impact, whatever word you want to use. That is, and I had people disagree with me when I wrote it, but I'm sorry. All day, every day, your passion can fuel your purpose. It can help you find your purpose. But it cannot be your purpose. And you will burn out if you are only operating on passion. You will burn out every time.
Yeah. And we do need a market. We do need to, like you said, I do need to put on LinkedIn, hey, I'm a coach, here's my services. And yes, I charge. Right. Yeah. And people are like, well, don't you do this for free? I'm like, no. Well, when I'm independently wealthy, or I've married the rich guy, which is not happening, I'm very happily single, I guess I need to market, right?
Well, we still do. I mean, like I say, I can dedicate time to do, pro bono work, and I will always do that, but I can't do that if I'm not in business.
Yeah.
And that's
I love what Kathy said. Very invested. I tell my clients they are part of my life of friends and family. Yeah, as my clients are. We do become very close. So anyway, it's 9:46.
You're late.
Thank you, Gretchen.
Thank you.
Hopefully we answered some questions. Hopefully we made some clarity. We will do this again, right? I don't have the exact date. I don't think we have the exact date. We will do this again. I have fun when we get on.
I do too. I love this.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you for
Bye.
showing up.